Good afternoon, students of Design and Technology. It's the first year that you will take this subject. I just want to introduce myself. My name is Arenda Herman, and I just want to caution you as well. If you phone me, you may not say Arenda. If you send an SMS or a WhatsApp, do not call me Arenda, you call me Mrs. Herman. Because if we want to have that mutual respect, I must have it for you, and so you must have it for me. Just that is number one. Number two is you need to work from the beginning. The fact that you did your assignment doesn't mean that you are now done. That was just the first part. So what I want you to do is, even if you just read every day a little bit of from your design and technology, so that you can just have a background of the subject, because it's a new subject in schools. Although the schools have it now for the past 5 years, but for you it's a new subject. And also when you go for practice teaching next year, you need to have a background of what design and technology is all about. So when you stand in front of a class, that you will be confident and you know what you're talking about, and you will also be able to answer questions. So that is what the introduction is all about. So let us start. The first one we start with is safety measures. Now safety measures in the design and technology class, let me start at the primary level, grade 5 to 7. At the primary level, design and technology is just a subject that you will give in a classroom. But when you go to Boys Pioneer, that is a technical school, or you go to the high schools, they have more material that you will use there, like for example a saw that you will cut wood with, or hammers or things. So the safety measures in a classroom is quite important. So don't think this is just an easy thing. You need to know exactly what the safety measures are all about. Number one is you need to have rules that protect both you and the learners in your classroom. Because we have different kinds of rules. We have classroom rules. For example, you need to be quiet, you need to listen attentively, and you need to put up your hand when you want to ask a question. Safety rules, on the other hand, is something different from classroom rules. Safety rules are things that will keep you and your learners safe. For example, no running in the class, no sharp material or sharp things that you, like for example, you cannot run with a hammer or a saw or a chisel or something. Those are dangerous things. So that is why I said safety rules and classroom rules. Then number 2, it says don't talk to strangers. You must always sensitize the children from primary school to high school that talking to strangers are very dangerous, especially now that so many children have been abducted. So you cannot say, no, this is a high school child, nothing can happen to them. Each and every child, when a stranger, take note that that child has not been picked up after school, is walking alone, is walking in the street with a cell phone, that child is or person is immediately a target. So you need to tell them why it is important not to talk to strangers, and why, especially when you work on at a primary school, if you go for practice teaching there, or later on you will teach there, you must also tell them there's different information that you cannot give to a stranger. For example, where do you live, your parents' cell phone numbers, and those important things, because you must sensitize them on safety. So if they are alone at home and their parents are at work, even if they answer the cell phone or a telephone at home, they may not give personal information to a stranger. Number 3 is remember, always tell or shout. This is now when something happens in the class and they see that that it is a dangerous thing, like people can fight with one another, and all of a sudden the person is grabbing a sharp object in the class, or brings a sharp object like a knife or a gun to school. because sometimes children are bullied and they are scared, so they put things in their bags, and when they they feel that their life is in danger, they can quickly take their bag and they will try to defend themselves. And then the other thing why I said shout or always tell is in the afternoons when they are not picked up after school, and all the children are picked up at their friends and they are all alone, and a stranger is coming to tell them, your mom said I must pick you up. Now the child is asking, how do you know my mom? Can you see? Those are already something very serious. You are not supposed to talk to the person. If you don't know the person, don't talk to the person. And if the person is doing something like pulling you into the car, then you must shout, and you must, when you get home, you must tell somebody. Or when you meet your mother and your father, you must, like we say, always tell, but that also means report. Then the parents must report it to the police. So because maybe that person is a stranger around that same school and are always around there, and children's lives are in danger. This is just a safety rule for all of them. The next one is challenges of being self-employed in Namibia. Now, when you are self-employed, not just in Namibia, but anywhere in the world, these basic rules will apply to you. And when you are self-employed, you don't have to start your own business, like a big business, like a bank or clothing business. But children can also start their own businesses. They can, for example, they can be an entrepreneur, then they can start a small business, maybe selling chips or popcorn in front of their house. Now, the same rules apply to being a person who is starting his own business or an entrepreneur. The first thing is you are your own boss, which means whenever you start your business, there's nobody that you report to. You need your own money, and you can have your own hours. So when they start their own business, they can, for example, decide that they are going to sell popcorn or chips only on a Friday afternoon, because during the week they must do their schoolwork. Or they can decide, I will first do my schoolwork and then I will sell the chips. But then the parents must also have kept in mind that they must not sell the things for too late, because they must still go study. And if they sell the things, the chips or the popcorn, and it becomes dark, it is also dangerous for them. The second thing is you have your own schedule. I'm talking now about entrepreneurs, when that are selling things from home, or they go to a certain corner where they sell things. So the first thing is that you are your own boss. Number two is you have your own schedule. Your own schedule means you decide on your own hours when will you do something. Are you going to do it over the weekend that you will sell things, or are you going to do it after school? And then you also get entrepreneurs, like we say, the kapana aunties. They go to a school and they sell meat and vetkoek there, or they sell chips and popcorn and sweets and things. So that those people we call an entrepreneur, because they are self-employed. They don't have to report to anyone. Then number three is economic climate. Now the economic climate, what we mean about that is how is the economic climate in the country. For example, now we have a very difficult economic climate because the money is very scarce. You cannot go and ask for a loan. But it is not just in Namibia, it is all over the world. So this is a worldly thing. But the economic climate can at any time it can change. Then there will be more money available in the country, or people don't have to go for a loan at the bank. They can just use their own money. So that is what economic climate is all about. Then the fourth one is you need a wide variety of skills. Let us take somebody who wants to start a clothing business, for example. You need your own capital. Number two, you need your own sewing machine. Number three, You need to have your own hours. Will you work during the holidays? Are you going to work over the weekends, or are you going to work every day? And also the hours that you put into your business. And then the fourth thing is, are you going to rent a place, like you are going to rent a premises, or are you just going to work from your house? So those are the a variety of skills that you need. And then also you need to know how to make money so that you can put the money back. Because if you don't put the profit back into your business, soon enough you will be bankrupt. So that is one thing. The other thing is, you need to find out, is there really a market for what I'm making? If I make dresses and skirts, are there people will I get customers that will buy it or not? So these are the market research that you need to do before you can even start your own business. That is why I said you need a lot of you need quite a variety of skills that you need before you can start your own business. So starting your own business can in the beginning be very stressful, and you will have to work for long hours, and most of the time in the first 3 years you cannot even take a holiday because you are your own boss. Because if you go on holiday, then there's no income because you are not there. The customers will not be able, they will not come because they see you are not there. And if you take a long holiday, like in December, you take a long holiday because you see there's only a few customers. In January, when you return, there will be no customers. So you need to be very careful when you have your own. So these are the challenges when you have your own business or when you are self-employed. And I said not just in Namibia, but it can be worldwide. The next one is how to write a lesson plan. Now I just took an example of a lesson plan in grade 5 because they start with design and technology in grade 5 in the primary schools, and then design and technology is going from grade 5, it goes right through to grade 12. Now let me start with grade 5s. If you go to grade 5, and this you will when you finish your second year like you are now, you are going to, in 2020 you will start with grade 5, grade 6 or grade 7 when you go to do practice teaching. And only in the third year you will go to the high schools. So and this lesson plan is for you as students, so you must make sure that you know what the lesson plan is all about. If I can give you advice, the best thing is if you have a friend or a family member who is a teacher, just ask that person for a lesson plan so that you can see what the person will fill in each of these spaces, so that you can have an idea. But if I can explain today, I will explain a lesson plan to you in grade 5. Remember, grade 5s are children that just came from grade 4. So for them, they are very childish and they like to be playful, and they just think of everything for them. The more you can explain about things that relate to them, the more it will make their lesson, or the more they will understand the lesson. Now let's just go to number 1, the aim. Now what is the aim of the lesson? The aim is what is it that you want to, if you come, let me take an example. Now you are talking about entrepreneurship, you're talking about your own business. Now what is the aim when you want to start your own business? Your aim can be to teach the children how to start their own business, and why is it important to have your own business. An objective is, what do you want for the long term? So if you start your own business, for example, you want to sell popcorn or chips, then the objective will be then that is what you will write in the objective. At the end of the lesson, I want the children to understand that having your own business is to make a profit of the business and not to eat all the money that you make as a profit, but to plow it back. Plow it back means whatever you make, you must put back and not use any of the money, because you need to buy stock again. So that is a long-term plan. Then the introduction, when you start your own business, you explain business now to grade 5 children. For an introduction, when you are going to grade 5 to present this lesson, for an introduction you can say, you don't have to say anything, you just ask somebody to come into the class. Maybe the person can come in with a bag of chips behind his back and with a whistle, so that they can get the attention of children. Already the children are wide awake. What is this man doing with the bag? Are we going to have chips today? And why does he have a whistle? Can you see? That is your introduction of your lesson. You make the children wide awake so that they can understand. But here I need to pay attention because something is going to happen. Then for the body of your lesson is, you are going to teach them different things in the lesson. For example, you are going to teach them, I must look for a location. It can be my house, or it can be the corner of the street. And then they must also look for the time, the hours that they will spend there, and how much did they buy the chips for, and how much are they going to sell the chips for, so that they can make a profit. So those are all the things in the body that you need. And then also they need, when they work out the price when they work out the price of the product that they sell, they must not, if there's only 2 customers today, then it doesn't mean that they can eat 5 packets of chips because the customers didn't come. So all these things you need to teach them. Whatever you sell, you cannot eat, because then you cannot see the profit. And then you must teach them the basic rules like plus, minus, multiplication and division, so that they can work out the price of the product. And then for the conclusion, you will ask them, what are the advantages of when you started your own business, what was the advantages of your own business? Advantages means, what did you see in the lesson that makes it that you will go back tomorrow? And the disadvantages is the things that are not so nice. Like for example, there was only 2 customers and I don't want to sit in the sun the whole time. Or it was raining. That is a disadvantage when you have your own business and when you're selling things on the street. So that they can understand what is advantages and what are disadvantages all about. Now, after you explain your lesson plan to them, now you must think. In each class there are 3 groups of children. We first have the advanced children. Now advanced children is when you say something, they can already think of something else because they are very clever. What are you going to do for them? If you tell them, I want you to start your own business, then you must already tell them, okay, for the advanced group, after you work out your lesson, after you work out what kind of business you want, I want you to tell me tomorrow, what can you do better to get more customers? Then you get this. That is no advanced learners. Now for the slow learners means they are not so sharp as the others, but they also understand, but they just take a little bit longer to understand. So for them you will say, okay, in this group, but you will not tell them you are advanced learners and you are slow learners. You must just treat everybody equally. But you must also give the slow learners a challenge. You must say, okay, if you are going to sell chips, your homework is to go find out the different kinds of chips that you can sell. That you can only sell it for $1. So they must go to different places. They can look in the newspaper, they can look in the ShopRite or Furman or any catalog that they see, or they can even talk to people who are selling chips. So that is their homework. So it can make it nice and interesting, because slow learners, they like to be active. So you must think of something. Now, for other learners, the remedial group, these are children that are really struggling. They are, for instance, struggling with mathematics, or they struggle to write sentences. So for them, you cannot give difficult work, but you must also challenge them. So you can tell them, okay, I want you to, if you go this afternoon and you are thinking of a location, can you please ask your mom or your dad if you can go in your neighborhood with your big brother and sister and just check on which corners are people selling, and you talk to them a little bit and ask, is this a good place to stand and sell? A lot of customers coming there, or is it better to sell in front of a school, so that they can also feel part of the lesson. So everybody must have a different challenge so that everybody can feel valued. So that is what the lesson plan is all about. Then the next one is how to handle conflict in classrooms. Now, conflict is always in a classroom, because children are from different backgrounds, they have different personalities, and they come from different houses. So how to handle conflict in your classroom is, number one, you must prepare for conflict. Now, what do I mean by that? Remember, you are going out for practice teaching next year. So the teacher will tell you, okay, I will give you the 4th period. Then we have design and technology. Grade 5A is coming. I want you to present a lesson about this topic to them. Then the teacher will sit at the back and watch you. And maybe somebody from the office will say, over the intercom, Mrs. Herman, can you please come to the office? We have a problem with one of your parents, or there's an urgent telephone call for you. Then the teacher will leave you alone in the class with those learners. And that is where the challenge is coming from. So, how are you going to, if you put the children in groups to work, you must always choose a leader. You yourself must choose a leader, and the others must then work with the leader. But now you put them in different groups, and all of a sudden you just see that one group, all the children, none of them are participating. It's only the leader that are talking. Then you go there and ask, what is the problem? And they don't want to talk. Then you ask the leader, what is going on that people are not talking in this group? Then the leader said, no, they don't want to do anything. But meanwhile, it is the leader that is the problem. He is overpowering them. And every idea that they bring to him or to bring to others, he just says, no, that is too silly. And there is where the conflict is starting, because people do not respect one another in the group. So that is why I said you must prepare yourself for conflict. Now you cannot just take something and start hitting the children in that group. No, you must find out what is the problem. So number 2 says you must know your learners. Now in one period, you will not know your learners. That is when you go out for practice teaching. The first week, you go with that specific class and you must just observe. Already you will see, oh, this one is a troublemaker. Oh, this one is a very strong personality. Oh, this one is very soft. Everyone is just controlling that person. So that is how you will know your learners. So when you go and you are now a teacher of your own class, then you will have more experience. But when you are just a student and you must go for class teaching or for practical teaching, then you must watch out for these things, so that you can already know the learner. So by the time that you present a lesson, then you already know, oh, I must not always ask this one, because he's always putting up his hand, but he's just not giving the right answer. So you must also look at the shy children, because most of the time those children will not put up their hand, but they have the correct answer. So you must observe all the children. Then number 3 says you must know each child's personality. Like I said now, this one has a very strong personality, is a leader. That one is a shy person. Or these people just don't want to give their input. So you must know each child's personality. Then the last one is respect and cultural issues. Now respect, I said in the beginning, if you do not respect the children, they will not respect you in return. And respect is not a question of, you say what I'm saying, you must do. No, that is not respect. Ne? That is dictatorship. And in a class, dictatorship is not working. So respect means you come into the class, you greet the children, and you make the rules. You said you put up your hand if you want to ask something. If you scream out, then I will punish you. Then if the person is screaming out, you said, can you please stand up and go stand in the corner, and we don't want to see your face. Then you let the person stand in the corner. But remember, if you let the person stand in the corner, you cannot let the person stand in that corner for the whole period. Because you must also think that that child is missing out in the lesson. So we can stand in the corner. If you see the person can behave himself, then bring him back to the class, so that the rest of the children can see, or the learners can see, that you are taking control of them. Because a person who cannot take control and doesn't respect children will not respect you. They will not greet you on the stoop. They will not greet you in the class or outside the class. But if you respect them, and that person is forever shouting out, but you don't do anything about that, then the rest of the class will not respect you either. They will just shout out the answers, and there will be chaos in the class. And that is what we call classroom management. So if you don't know how to respect children and make rules and stick to those rules, then you will have a problem with classroom management. Now the second one with respect is cultural issues. What cultural issues is, you must always know a little bit about every culture. So when you go to a school, that you know how to respect children from different cultures. That you will not always just ask the person who sits in front and forget about all others. That you can remember, that you can see that everybody has an equal chance to answer. Okay, let's go on. Now come to electricity. Electricity is very important. Remember, in the exam I like this question a lot. Ne? So already make a NB next to it, just like the previous one of conflict in classrooms. Make a mental note. This one is very important, as well as electricity. My favorite, ne? So don't, when you get to the exams, don't say, Mrs. Herman didn't say anything about this. I already tell you now. Okay, so there are 3 kinds of electricity. The first one is mechanical. Electricity has a mechanical effect. Now a mechanical effect, you will see it on your Kindle, but just in plain simple English, a mechanical effect means this kind of electricity, it makes things move. Ne? Like for example, a fan. When you switch the fan off, the electricity is on, it goes through the circuit and into the fan, then the fan starts moving. And the other thing is a lawnmower. If you just watch people mowing their lawn, they will push it, and that is electricity when you push the lawnmower, and then the machine inside the lawnmower to move it forward and to cut the lawn short and smooth. That is why I said it makes the electricity move. That is what mechanical effect means. Now we get to the thermal effect. Now another word is, just in simple English now, means things, when things are hot. Ne? Thermal is most like hot things. Like for example, when you switch the iron on, and after a few minutes the iron is hot, then you can iron your clothes. Or in the winter, you switch on the heater, in a few minutes you see the room becomes hot. So that is what thermal effect means. So you mustn't worry about these big words. Just listen to what I'm telling you now in simple English. Because I don't want the high words of your Kindle. I just want you to write something that you understand. Because once you understand something, you will not forget it. Even if I ask a question like this in the exam, then you must first explain to me what it is, and I want to have 2 or 3 examples like I give to you now. Like with the mechanical effect, I said it makes things move like a fan or a lawnmower. With the thermal effect, I said it makes things hot like a heater or an iron. And then we get the luminous effect. I think this one is the most common one. The luminous effect is like a bulb, a light bulb. When you switch it on, then immediately the light is on and you can see everything in the room, especially when it's dark. Now with luminous effect, there are 2 kinds of things. Either you can switch the light on, the electricity goes through, and the light bulb goes on. Or you get another one when it says you switch the electricity on and all of a sudden it's just black. Then we call it a blackout, which means the electricity is going through, but there's a problem with the bulb. Maybe the bulb fuse and the electricity is going through, but the bulb cannot work. So the room stays black. So this is my favorite. So take note for the exam. Then the next one is, how do teachers treat bleeding in a classroom? Number 1 is, do not panic. You as teacher, and if somebody is bleeding, tell the children, just sit still and be calm. I will see to it now. Don't let people move around and all of a sudden everybody is now around the person who is bleeding, and then the person panic and they're screaming and shouting, and later on the principal or the teacher is coming in and asking, what is going on? Why is there such a lot of noise in your class? And then you as the student teacher or the classroom teacher will be responsible, because that means that there's no classroom management in your class. You cannot manage yourself, and neither can you manage the children. So now listen to these points. When I say what do you do in a workshop? A workshop is now like boys pioneer or girls school eros. For example, in a class that has woodwork or different machinery in there, or in a class that has where the children are cooking, different things can handle there in that workshop. So number 1, when the teacher find out somebody is bleeding, number 1, the first thing is you must wear protective clothing. Now bleeding is not just for in a classroom. When you are on your way maybe home, there's also an accident. Then you see a lot of people are trying to stand there, but nobody's actually helping. And then maybe the ambulance is not there, but you want to help, but you don't have protective clothing, you don't have protective gloves. So what you can do in your class, if this thing happen, you can just look for plastic bags and just tie it around your hands. Then your hands are already protective, because you don't know what kind of disease is in that person's blood. So we must always make children sensitized. We must always sensitize children that blood can have germs, and maybe the person have a disease also. So to protect yourself, you must wear protective clothing. Protective clothing is that the blood will not go on your clothing like an overall or something. And number 2 is you must wear gloves. Now I said when you don't have gloves, you can also make use of the plastic bags. So in my bag there's always plastic bags. In my car there's always plastic bags in the cabio, because you never know when when something like this can happen. And number 3 is you must have a first aid box. In each workshop there must be a first aid box, because you cannot run to the office to get the first aid box and now come back. By the time you come back, the person has lost a lot of blood. Now the first aid box is not just for your workshop, it can also be in your car. Even if you just have a few simple things in the first aid box in your car, then it's also fine. Now a first aid box, usually schools buy a first aid box at a pharmacy or a chemist, where all these things are. And especially when we take children out, when you are not teaching and you are not a student anymore, when you take children out for netball or soccer or something, the first aid box is the first thing that you need there. And then when you see the person is now bleeding, maybe he fell down, especially with grade 1s or so. In primary school, they run around and they fall all the time. So the person has his knees now open, his toe is open or something. Now before the first aid box will even get to your class, or it will come from the office to the playground, you will must put on your gloves first, your plastic bags first, or your gloves. And then the first thing is you must clean the wound. Now most of us do not have Dettol and all these kinds of expensive things. Or maybe you are teaching on the farm, then you don't have these kind of expensive things. And even at home, what I do when my daughter is falling, I always boil water first, then I mix it with cold water so that it can be lukewarm water. And then I add some salt into the water. I stir it until the salt is dissolved. And then I take cotton wool or clean cloth and I dip it into this mixture of salt and water, and then I clean the wound, because most of the time when children are falling, there's a lot of sand in the wound. So those are just practical things that you can do without a first aid box even arriving. These things you can do before the first aid box arrived. And also when you're going to the farm, or you are at home, you can also use this. It's a very practical thing, but it works. Okay, now the uses of electricity. We talked about the different kind of electricity. Now we talk about the uses of electricity. And this is something that you don't even have to study, because you can just think, who is not using electricity today? Everybody is using electricity. Now the first thing is transport. What kind of transport use electricity? In Europe and in America and in other countries, they make use of electricity for trains, for cars and for buses. Now in Windhoek, our buses are not working with electricity, but you always see in front of the city of Windhoek, the blue buses, you will also see there a word that goes and it comes back. It will say, going from this bus is going to Unguriangawa, this bus is going to Pioneers Park. Those letters that are moving there, they use electricity. The second thing is communication. Now what kind of communication? Let me just ask, what kind of communication doesn't use electricity? All kinds use. Our cell phones use it, and when we work on the laptop, it uses electricity. When we work on the computer, it uses electricity. So for communication, all these things work with electricity. Then the third thing is different industry manufacturing. For example, a conveyor belt at the airport. They take your luggage out of the your luggage out of the plane, and it goes on a conveyor belt. A conveyor belt works like this. They put the suitcases and they switch the conveyor belt on, and then this belt is moving around so that different passengers can take off their suitcases. Otherwise they will have to walk to everyone, and this is just by using electricity, it just makes it easier. Then the last one is entertainment. Entertainment is when you go to the movies, it uses electricity. When you go to eat out, or you go to see a show, the people are singing, the mics use electricity. Everything that you can think of use electricity. So this is not something that you must study. This is something that you must just think about. This has nothing to do with study. Okay, I'm almost at the end of my lesson. Okay, my name is, like I said, Mrs. A. Herman. And then you can call me because in the morning I'm teaching. Then you call me between 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Saturdays you can call me the whole day. Sundays between 9 and 12 I'm at church, and after that you can call me. Now the thing that I want to say is, what I just want to sensitize you about is, if you call me and the phone is ringing for more than 3 times, then you must know I'm busy. Because I'm also going to the university in the evening. Then you must just send me a text message or WhatsApp. And then when I get home, I will reply. If I see this is too difficult to send in an SMS or a WhatsApp, then I will call you and I will explain to you in detail. But then when I explain to you, I will first send an SMS and say, please get your stuff ready, because I will phone you in 10 minutes. When I said get your stuff ready, then you must already have a book and a pen. Because when I said get your stuff ready and I phone you, and now you want to tell me, Mrs. Herman, just hang on, I'm looking for a pen. I already put the phone down, because then I've wasted time. And I can go on to the next student that I can help. So please do not waste my time. When I send you a text message, I will call you on that time. Then you must be ready, that you must see your phone is charged, and you sit with your phone, with your book and your pen. Okay, that is the end of my story. And my number is 081-644-2582. And please do not phone me during school hours, because I will not pick up the phone. I'm busy at my work. Thank you.